just waking up. Yes, I'm sleeping clothes. And my night hoodie. I am so tired of this shit. I'm so tired of this pandemic. I want it to be over. I want it to be done. I want to travel across the world and go on trips and visit people and go everywhere and do everything. And I'm scared because I don't want to end up in the hospital for months because I wanted to try tacos in Tahiti. Do they even have tacos in Tahiti? I don't know, because I can't travel the sea. I'm sick of this. Well, enough of that. Let's get the show started.
We can do better. We can do better.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Brandon Show. Today we're talking about anxiety during COVID and traveling. Okay, some of my guests are like me who we just don't want to go anywhere. And then I have one brother who's been everywhere. Welcome my guests to the Brandon Show. Hey everybody.
Hey.
I appreciate it.
Darnell, you are the founder of Passport Required. You're taking people all over the country.
I don't know how I figured out a way to make people trust me. So we do secret trips around the world, you know, and so you sign up, you give me your money, you have no idea where you're going, and we all leave. You know, you find out like the day before, just in case your family needs to know where you disappeared to.
Yeah.
And we meet at the airport and we go. We've been pretty successful so far, and it's been an amazing time. I think we've done about, I'd say, about 50 or 55 countries so far in the last 5 years, which has been pretty great.
Then the pandemic hit. Did you have a strategy?
No, man. The pandemic hit and it canceled like every trip we had from March moving forward. So, you know, there was all these folks who were just disappointed. I didn't know what to do. You know, I gave all this money back, and I said, you know, if there's a way that we can start this back up as soon as possible, I'll let you know. And the year just kept going, and the world closed down. Everything was shut down. And I think around July, I said, you know what? We're going to do the first ever no passport required trip. So we're going to make it, you know, people just need to get out and see more of the U.S. Let's do that. So I got about 7 people together who said, yeah, we'll go. So we all got into a car and drove from DC to West Virginia, upstate New York, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, back down to DC. And it was kind of like you could see, like, you know, the spirits and the morale and all this stuff just coming back up. And then I said, okay, we're going to do a trip in October. It's going to be called the Optimist Trip. You have to believe that something is going to happen, that the world is going to be open. And if it's not, then we're going to go somewhere. And so 6 of us went to Brazil for a week, and it was it was an amazing trip just to get out and see the world again and be with people in the world, and not have to look at these 4 walls again, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just looking at these walls just make me sick. But in the back of my head, as you're talking about going on this trip, I'm thinking, hell no. What were people thinking? You know, were they afraid, or were they just open, or did you have to coach them? Like, what was the process, and did you follow, you know, the CDC guidelines when you were together? Did you take tests? So many questions, Darnell, that I have to
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it, because, you know, I had COVID in March, and a few of my friends, you know, I know which friend I got it from. I knew which friends I gave it to. None of us knew we had it when it was being spread. And this was in like the very beginning, you know, and so I get the fear. So going into this, I just said, hey, I'm going on this trip. If you want to go, feel free to go. We are going to follow CDC guidelines. Mask up. Most of these countries are requiring us to take a test before we come in. I trust that you all will come, you know, safe, and you've been tested and everything is good. You know, we went to each country. We were respectful of other people as we were of each other. And
right.
Brazil looks like New York right now. Everyone's in a mask. Everyone, you know, you can go into places now, and everyone's being very very careful. But people just said, hey, you know, I think we were just going crazy. So I didn't have to coach anyone into anything. It was like, oh, I don't care where you're going. I'm going. You can go. You can go to Detroit or Baltimore. I'm going. You know, and that's what it was.
Well, I think, you know, I've seen your stuff online, and I've tried to build up courage. I see your trips. I'm like, maybe, maybe I can also, because, you know, we've been here, you know, for almost 9 months, and I'm going to bring in Tammy and Sarita. You both are just like me. You've been sheltering in place for the most part. And so seeing people online must have been like, am I living in an alternate universe where, you know, people are traveling and having a good time, and I'm here trying to figure out how to order my groceries? What did you think about this whole time?
Well, whenever it first happened, I remember we were at work and they were like, okay, go home, get your laptop and go home. And I thought, well, that's a deal. And I thought, you know, at most it's going to be 2 weeks, 4 weeks. But as it went longer, and at first I was like, okay, what's going on here? But as it went longer, my bae at the time, he started getting distant, and he wanted to social distance. And I'm like, why? And then, you know,
to come back for the dating during COVID show.
I know, but I was just like, I lost my bae.
Yeah.
The work was weird. And there were all these new platforms like, oh, hit me on Slack, Microsoft Teams, Zoom. Right. I was going crazy. And at the same time, I was away from my family. I live alone in LA, and all my family is in Texas and Oklahoma. So I I went crazy. I mean, I was going outside. I was taking great trips from my bedroom to the living room and back.
Every flyer miles.
2 months in, I was gaining weight, and I'm like, oh my gosh, but I didn't want to fly. I didn't want to go outside. So I ended up taking a road trip to Texas where my family was, and I got tested, and then I drove for 22 hours by myself with my 2 dogs because I wanted to take them with me. And, you know, I reconnected to my family, but then I sheltered in place in Texas, even though more was open, because I was already in that mindset of sheltering in place. And then, you know, I stayed there for like 2 months. And then I came back to LA. My mom came with me. And since I've been back, I've went to the beach a couple of times and done some al fresco dining, but I'm starting to be with the travel folks where it's like, you know what, this ain't where it's at. And I need to get outside. I need to see people. I need to interact because, like you said, Brandon, these 4 walls ain't offering me much fulfillment these days.
So true. Is it sort of like the same experience for you, Tammy? You're in Ohio. What has your experience been, and have there been any changes?
Well, when it first started for me, everything was weird. Like I was still going to work, and then it was like, okay, everybody has to work from home, which was great for me. Trying to go to the grocery store was the biggest stressor for me because it's like there was nothing anywhere. I couldn't even get toilet paper for like the first 2 months. I couldn't buy my own tissue at all. So it was a lot, staying away from friends, family. I have my father is older, and then I have a 2-year-old niece. So that was really like, well, I can't be around my family because I don't want to, because at the time I was still going to work. I don't know if I'll come in contact with it or anything like that. So just staying away from people was just a lot.
Sarita, you're single, and I'm single too, and I don't have any family here in New York with me, so we didn't have people to protect. But I'm sure that must have been very stressful not being able to see your family who were so close to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, just up the street, and it's like I can't even go.
Wow.
But everything, it's like, it's great. Well, it's better now.
Yeah.
You know, since things have slowly begun to open up and people are being more social, you know, still with the guidelines of wearing your mask, washing your hands, using your sanitizer and everything like that. So it's definitely better than it was.
I don't know if it's much better or we're just tired of following the rules. I think we have COVID fatigue. Let's bring in one of my favorite psychologists, Dr. Keisha Mack. Dr. Keisha, you've been listening to us backstage. What do you think about this? Are we just kind of too concerned about what's happening in the world? Is Darnell crazy? Can you help us with things of where we are? Is there a balance, a happy medium between the two?
Right. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. And thank you for letting me know that I am your favorite psychologist.
Yes.
I said that.
You are.
So I think that, there is no right or wrong way to feel about the situation. There's going to be differences in every individual. There are going to be those people who are willing to take the risk because it's something that's important to them. In some cases, it's really valuable for their mental health. So they have that need to get out, travel, and do those things. And then you have those people who are going to be, less likely to take that risk. And these people are probably that way in life in general. Those people who are more of a risk taker in life in general will probably be those people who you'll see that are going to take more of a risk. And I think that people are going to take risk in, calculated risks, and as he explained, he said he followed CDC guidelines and, put everything in place and put the precautions in place and did the things he needed to do when he was in, visited the other countries. But it was important to him to go. So I think there's a spectrum, and I don't think there really is going to be one way to feel about this, and no way is, better or worse. It's just different.
Now, when we're talking about anxiety, is there a point where we're worrying too much and it becomes a problem in how we live throughout our daily lives?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want the anxiety to actually take over your life, where you are so concerned and worried and that you can't function, or, you can't do your daily activities. You can't do the things that you need to do to, work or, to keep yourself going. So anytime that it's interfering with your life and in your daily activities, it's definitely a problem. A lot of times that is related to us. Anxiety is about control. And this is a prime environment to have, even more anxiety, because we have no idea what's going to happen, how long this is going to be around. So that, idea of not being able to have any control is ramped up now in COVID. And so what really causes the anxiety is, trying to have some control over something that you have no control over. And so I think in this time period right now, you're going to see, higher levels of stress because there is something looming that we just have no idea and no control over.
And anxiety often happens when we're concerned too much about what's going to happen in the future. What can we do right now to lessen our anxiety and just kind of get a little bit of freedom and relief from the feeling of isolation? I talk about social isolation a lot. Just feeling like we're connected to people, even though we can't be connected to people because of the dangers that it may cause.
Well, I think, it depends on, the person and how they, want to connect with people. But again, whatever you do, you have to first think about safety. And, considering those who, not only your own safety, but the safety of others.
Yeah.
You don't care about yourself, at least care about those around you.
Yeah.
Your decisions around, traveling or exploring or, whatever it is that you're going to do. So the number one thing is to think about safety. But I do think you can do things within reason, traveling locally, taking, road trips as we discussed here. That's happening a lot. There are a lot of outdoor activities that you could take advantage of in your environment, walks, nature, all those things, they bring good feelings to you, or whatever it is that you enjoy doing, finding a way to be creative to still be able to do those things. And, if you are traveling, again, keeping in mind the CDC guidelines, even, possibly exploring their list of, countries that may from the highest to the least amount of risk. taking that into consideration for the countries that you are visiting. You know, take it into consideration who you might come in contact with when you travel to those countries and who you come in contact with when you return, because all of that plays a significant role in, you know, your well-being as well as other folks' well-being. So it's doable. You just have to be creative, definitely creative. And if you are, and the one thing you have to remember too is that traveling for some people it causes anxiety outside of COVID. So if this is not going to be something that's going to, you know, cause you to feel better, you know, then there's definitely no need to do it during COVID.
Right.
It's going to cause your anxiety to be even greater. So traveling may not be the best way to find relief for the people. It may be, you know, doing the things that we've become so accustomed to, the Zoom parties, you know.
I'm tired of those too.
But you know, for some people that anxiety was already high.
Yeah.
So, you know, traveling outside of their environment or getting on the plane is absolutely out of the question now.
Right. Well, Dr. Mack, I think there's going to be a Brandon bus, and we're all going to get together and take a Darnell trip.
I mean, I have to admit, I've done, you know, I initially really, you know, staying in place, and I've done some traveling recently as well. And again, thinking about who's there, who I'm going to come in contact with, who am I coming back to when I get back, you know, taking very, very calculated and thoughtful risks is, you know, really important.
And I think that's the key. If you feel out of control, make a plan where you feel a little bit more in control over how you spend your life. Thank you to all my guests for coming and sharing your experiences. I think this is something that a lot of people have been dealing with for the last couple of months, and I hope that they can hear your stories and our experiences and at least get outside and take out the trash like I need to take out the trash today. Thank you guys for joining me. Coming up next, it's a dance break.
If you'd like to be a guest on the Brandon Show, shoot us a message, brandon@brandonshow.com. Until next time, be well.
We can do better.